going back to, what you guys provide, we couldn't have got there. We did partner. We do have partners today, and we did partner with certain people to help us along the way and fill those knowledge gaps to get there, right? And we still do. We continue to partner with people, and we will as we go on, right? We're not experts in any of these in the upcoming software space, so we're going to have to rely on vendors.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 101 Digital Podcast. I'm Craig Meyer, CEO of 101 Digital, and our guest today is actually someone who I previously worked with at RJW, James Brady. So first of all, introduce yourself, but also can you give us a little background about RJW and what you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, James Brady, Director of IT Business Systems over at RJW. Been there close to 8 years. And right now at RJW, I oversee all our warehouse software. I see it over the integrations. And yeah, we have a team of three. So it's been exciting. The growth there has been tremendous. Hasn't been that way all the time. Actually, I started in the operation side, and then the needs, as you will talk about, has been more on the IT side. So a lot of our problems were coming from how do we scale this thing? How do we make this? How do we get to a point where we're satisfying our customers by meeting the shipment needs, all that. So there's a lot there. I'm sure we'll cover, but
Yeah. I mean, so I think when I started there, the IT department was, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 or so, right? And I think by the time I left, it was probably in like the 40s. So can you kind of just give a little background of, because again, you were there very early, and like you said, you kind of transitioned from operations into the IT side. How did that kind of come about, and where is it at today?
yeah. So started out as their only business analyst, right? So company was growing, right? It kind of felt like a startup. There's a lot of things that need to get done, and they transcended just not just operations, right? So as we continue to expand, it was how do we put this piece of software or this process in place, and how do we tie in our all of our current software that we had in our core applications together to get there. And a lot of that had to be thought out, right? We had in-house developers at the time that we were starting to invest in those integrations. And it, honestly, it's quite amazing where we came from. Being, IT staff of, let's say I think it was 10 or 12 of us all working on different things and all of us overlapping different roles. And now we're a team of 45 plus. It's been,
It's actually really incredible,
yeah.
and it was really cool to be able to see, how serious RJW took technology while I was there, right? And
Mm.
you've been there even longer, and you've really been able to see that. What are some of those things that, from say like a technology perspective, that RJW is invested in that has really kind of changed the way that you're able to, handle customers, but also just be more efficient internally?
So the biggest piece to us in the investment we made is definitely in our dev team, right? We decided early on, Kevin, CEO, decided early on that he wanted, to be a technology company, right? I mean, he wanted to really push the envelope with being able to satisfy our customers. So he decided that he needed to invest in IT, right? And at that time, it wasn't just about implementing or creating the newest, greatest application. It was just about making our systems talk to each other that made us more efficient,
That makes
right?
sense.
And it allowed us to excel faster than anyone else, right? Be able to have all the data streamlined, right? Everything talking to each other. Everything needs to be in sync, right? If you have one application that's not running as smooth, or data is not being fed past, it's gonna create problems. And he was able to see that, right? And we were able to act upon that and invest in that, and make sure that all of our core applications are touching, and make sure that they're all singing and talking to each other. It really wasn't just one technology, one aspect. It was many different things that all came together as one. When you talk about some of the other things, some of the strategies in the warehouse that we've implemented, like RFs, obviously, that's almost a no-brainer now, but you'd be surprised that there's other companies out there that are still picking based off paper.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I was at another company previously that was paper based, and even just seeing that transition from paper based to RF is incredible, right? I
Mhm.
mean, again, as you know, you can, you know, double, triple, quadruple volume, and with RF, you're not adding more people, and that's really kind of where the technology comes in, right? Is to try to reduce that headcount as much as you can. I mean, again, RJW, even from when I was there, has grown from what seemed like 1,200 employees to I think 2,000 plus now. So
Yeah, I mean, that's what's really enabled us to keep opening up warehouses. We open up almost two warehouses every year since almost every year since I've been there. It's one of those things, right, where you at first you're talking about saving dollars, and then it's talking about saving quarters, and it's talking about saving pennies, right? It's the little things that pay off as you continue to grow. How can we make this better? A lot of continuous improvement, looking internally at your processes, making sure that they're the best that they could be. And if not, what can we do to make them better, right? Is it a process? Is it a simple process improvement? Is it another technology? Some of the things that we have looked at, we have put in print and applies machines lately. Our volume of labels that we were pushing through has just quadrupled. So we obviously look to invest in an automated print and apply. That was pretty much a no-brainer. Like, yes, that, of course, this makes sense. Let's do this. We're also now looking at different things like mobile hip printers, to make, not everything needs to go through a print and apply machine. It just takes too much time. But there's other things too that is simple, or I mean, it could be even more complex, like AMRs, right? I mean, that's just a different avenue of picking. But
so
there's
yeah, since I got to imagine a lot of people aren't going to know what that is. Can you explain AMR?
Yeah, autonomous mobile robot.
Yep.
They come pretty much where the industry's going is just robots as a service. You pay, per month per a robot that follows you around. You pick to it, and it goes on its way. The real big thing there is, the big win there is the integration is pretty seamless, right? The stand up time for them to turn around a robot to, follow you down an aisle it's within weeks,
Well, yeah,
right?
and again, since I got to imagine a lot of people that are going to listen to this, some will be in the logistics space, some won't, and some may not even be to that technological level yet where they would understand where these robots have come in. But again, just me and your experience, you've got, as you mentioned, the ones that are kind of there. They go to like a picking lane. You may be doing like faster kind of pick, like for parcel picking.
Mhm.
You can have robots follow you or go to location. You put it in there. It then takes that bin over to the packing station to then be shipped out, right? But I remember we also were exploring like put away robots, right? You can almost utilize that as like a third shift. So
Mhm.
I think it is interesting just because I remember a lot of people, especially say on the trucking side, which I don't know if we'll get into today, but people were saying that we're not going to have enough truck drivers or robots are going to take the place of people. But I think as you've seen, and I think a lot of people, especially recently, have realized that there's actually not enough people for some of these jobs, right? So again,
Mhm.
this is where technology comes in and kind of supplement that, right? It's not to always replace. Sometimes it's going to be to supplement, have that third shift so that your facility can continue to operate when you don't have the personnel to be there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's where the industry's moving, right? I mean, if you went to ProMat this past year in Chicago, like everyone there, all the vendors there are selling robots, right?
Yeah.
That's the next biggest thing is they want to, with obviously, coming out of COVID, there's being a labor shortage. People, are that's the biggest thing everyone talks about is labor issues, problems with that. And if you can directly replace some of that with a robot, right, that can help you, or like you said, supplement. Um, Total, autonomy doesn't need to be, just replacing heads. It could just, like you said, it could be as little as point to point connections with robots, right? Hey, put this piece of paper on this robot, take it to the other side of the warehouse,
Yeah.
and they process and do what they need to on that side. It doesn't need to be, hey, the robot's, self guided down the aisles, going and helping you pick. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, and in that situation, you're also kind of reducing the burden of the employee, and from a health perspective, that's good, right? Like I've actually read a lot of studies where instead of having that person make that long trip to say the packing station, they're just again picking to these aisles, and then the robot's making the long trip, right? And people may say that sounds lazy, but I mean, again, like if you're looking out for your employee, that is something that could be beneficial to them.
Yeah.
So, um, you kind of mentioned on the integration side, and I just want to kind of go into that a little bit further. So, you obviously have the internal integrations, right, that make you guys really efficient, but also help get data to your customers faster, right? If you've got the warehouse management system talking to the transportation management system, you've got tracking numbers, all these different things that are important. But then you have that then being sent off to, say, the customers via like EDI, ASNs, like those types of things. Can you just kind of go into, high level of just, how RJW, sees that, what's your guys' philosophies on it, and, how does that help, say, potential customers? Because I know, again, while I worked there, that was like one of the big selling points is that, you guys have this data and you can get it to customers extremely quickly.
Yeah, that's extremely important to our customer and especially our customer base. They want their data, right? If our systems are talking to each other and they're not in sync, then what are we going to share with them, right? We provide a service, right? We provide warehousing, we provide, transportation services, logistics services. If our systems aren't talking to each other, then how are we going to be able to provide them any sort of update, right? We want to be able to give them, hey, your order is picked, right? Now your order's loaded. Hey, now your order has left. It's on this carrier, right? It has arrived at this time. It has met your MABD, right? MABD must arrive by date, right? Which is a big term in the industry, right? And it has met that, right? We go by, one of the big scores in the industry right now is OTIF, on time and full. We're happy to say that we are above 98%,
Yeah.
which is excellent. And we continue to strive that, right? We push those numbers. And the reason we do that, reason we have that is because all of our systems and data are aligned, right? We are able to tell where in the process there are inefficiencies. Hey, it's taking way too long to pick these sets of orders. Why? Okay, here's what we're seeing, right? If you don't have those integrations, it's hard to tell where in the life cycle of an order that things end up failing, right? Or where things are falling apart.
It's kind of the what you don't measure, you can't manage, right?
That's
So
exactly it.
it is nice there because there's a couple of things with the data, right? Like it's the management side of it of where you potentially falling behind, where can you become more efficient? But there's also probably some compliance side too, right? Like you said, with some of your people that you're shipping to, they have these specific dates set, and if you don't have that data, you don't even know if you're meeting it, right? So
Mhm.
having that data is extremely beneficial, and again, I feel like that's something that RJW really strived for.
I think, you heard this thing with like data, and everyone was trying to get, the data warehouses, just more and more data. And really that's been the driver, right? The data tells a story. You look at it, you're like, here are some numbers that are off. And that's where we tend to focus on. That leads to continuous improvement opportunities, anything, more efficiency, you name it, right? Cost savings. The data, by having everything in sync, us being able to look at the data is tells us what we need to work on.
One that I just thought about as we were talking through that is I think one of the key things to probably mention in this too, just because of while I was at RJW, I was so impressed by it. But can you kind of just give an example of what is it that like most of your customers come to you for, right? Like while I was there, consolidation seems to be like your guys' big thing, and again, all that data really helps in that. So for people that are listening that haven't either heard of RJW or want to know more about RJW, like what is it that like really differentiates you guys? Because again, as we talk about in this, it's a lot is technology,
Mhm.
data, and things that like customers would want. But like can you kind of give just some examples of like the consolidation, the shipping, like those services?
It's all about the service level, right? I mean, they come to us for that. Like they can go to any other 3PL and do what, they need to do, but it's the service that we provide and at the level that we provide it. By having all this set up, we are able to provide that, right? They come to us because we have the insights to the data. We can provide that with them. They love that. They can act upon it and thus make themselves more efficient.
Yeah, I was going to actually say, as you said that, I mean, it seemed like some of the customers even used your data to make their forecasts, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes your data might actually be more accurate than what they kind of had themselves.
Right. I mean, it's almost becoming like almost a 4PL, right? You're giving them their insights to their data themselves, right? Where it's, in the past, other companies couldn't provide that. and it's been a strong opportunity for us. A lot of customers that come to us aren't the big Fortune 500 companies, right? They're mom and pop shops trying to get in these retailers, and they need help, right? They're looking for a partner, a true partner, that's going to help them grow and grow with them, right? And that's really what RGW does. Is we're not just a service provider. We try to be more of a partner to you.
I like that you said that because that's kind of our sales pitch as well here at 101 Digital, right? I
Right.
mean, we are 100% service based. And like you mentioned, we want to partner with our customers because their needs, we need to understand them, right? That's the first part. We need to understand like what they're trying to do with technology and then how we can make them better utilizing technology. So you can only really do that if you partner with them. If you're an IT provider that all you're trying to do is just keep them up and running, but you're not building efficiencies for them, that's not really a partner. That is truly kind of like a commoditized keep the lights on type of
Hmm.
thing, right? Like electricity. But
Yep.
we try to take it a step further. Um, so the next thing I wanted to kind of talk to you about is we've talked about the technology, but how do you personally see that really helping RJW, and where do you think it's going to go, kind of in the future? Right, like we kind of talked on the AMR side, but logistics, as I've seen it, because I actually now had about 12 years of experience in logistics. I always saw that technology was important. I mean, my
Mhm.
background is technology, so I guess I'm a little biased, but if you want to have better efficiencies, having systems, right, having processes, having RF, having wireless, all of those different things, what do you kind of see as like the next thing, but also like what is it that you guys are building upon today to make you guys more efficient?
That's really, I mean, it's tough, right? I mean, like I mentioned at ProMat, everyone pushing autonomous stuff, but again, you have to have good processes in order to get there. If you don't have good processes, then you're just putting technology on bad processes, it's just going to make it worse, right?
Definitely.
That's one step that we found that is definitely something that's what makes us great, right? We sit there, we evaluate, we continuously improve, and we measure. We make sure that this is pushing the needle, right? Does this change work? Did that change work? If you're not doing that and you're just looking for one big bang of like, hey, I'm going to implement this and it's going to change my life, it's probably not going to happen, right? Because there's so many things out there. I wouldn't say there's one thing that changes everything. I would say to get to that autonomy level, you need to, once you have the good processes, then it's talking about just the max efficiency that you can provide, right? And the reduction of cost or whatever. And that's where you get to automated sortation, right? Of some sort. You get to AMRs, you get to automated put away, right? Once you get to that level, once you get to that level with your processes, that's when you could implement that stuff. And there's so much out there. I mean, those are just a few that I've mentioned, but even people have now they have these drones, that go
I
on.
actually saw some of that will do essentially your cycle counts for
Right.
you.
Yeah, they're amazing. They got automated palletization, software now, how to pick a perfect pallet, if you will. And they got so much out there. There really is no just I'll call it just magic button that's going to
Uh,
do it for you. It's all these pieces, right? But it's also understanding where you're at, like your what you produce out of your warehouse and finding what's going to be the most efficient bang for your buck, right? Whether that's tackling replenishments. If replenishments are your thing, right? Hey, we're spending way too much time in replenishments. Okay, well, how do we reduce replenishments? Is it our process? Can we have a technology that does that, right? There's slotting software out there that helps with that. It's really about what is driving your highest cost and your highest efficiency and finding ways to improve upon that.
The one thing I remember and liked again at RJW is that you guys also didn't kind of steer away from making those investments that might not work out, right? I mean, that's part of it, right? You try something, you see if it, like you said, you measure it, see if it helps. If it doesn't, then there were times that we would scrap something, right? So
Hmm.
it you can't be afraid to at least try. I feel like it's if you like the indecision of it, if you just don't make no decision, it's probably worse than at least going through that process because then the next thing might actually get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, we definitely have some of those, right? The fail fast method, right? We know this isn't working out, and you decide to scrap it. But to your point, it's about trying, and that really is, that tells you a lot about RJW. Kevin is very, he's adamant about pushing the needle and making sure we're doing better, right? And he understands that, sometimes things don't work out the way that you expect it to. But that's okay. We've tried it, we've learned from it, we've grown from it. We know what RJW can provide because of that. And that's what's really made us better.
So the last thing I wanted to get into is, how this kind of all happens, right? And that's again the team, right? So a lot of our customers are small and medium businesses. I would consider you guys, really now at kind of at that large business, right? Again, 2,000 plus employees. A lot of our customers are kind of in that, 50 to 200 range. But as we kind of also mentioned that, some of these, whether it's a logistics company, manufacturing, anything to do with either warehousing or, we support all different industries, nonprofits, professional services. So some of this won't apply, but, for some of them it will, because in any industry, there's companies that have big teams, and then there's companies that have smaller teams. Some, again, don't have the resources to have a bigger team, but you guys do, right? So I kind of want to talk about how that's structured, but also how 101 Digital essentially can kind of mimic that to some extent, right? I'm not going to sit here and say like 101 Digital can do everything RJW can do, because again, I was there. I know what you guys can do. You guys are at a different kind of tier than most would be at. So what does that look like? The IT team, and again, like just to kind of walk you into a little bit is like we provide, say, CIO services, will be the help desk, the infrastructure team, all those things. And I know over at RJW, you guys have something similar. So can you kind of just walk us through like what that team looks like, and how robust it is and how important it is to everything we just talked about?
Right. And I think to play off like what you guys do here, I mean, we have vendors that partner with us that we're not experts in, right? We're not experts in certain software or certain processes or certain knowledge bases, and we rely on them, and they are a partner to us, right? We realize, hey, this is a gap in our current knowledge base here, and we need someone to fill that. So we've partnered with our vendors, right? We've even partnered with you,
Yeah,
right? With
yeah,
uncertain,
it's a little bit on our side,
right?
and while you until you got that knowledge, and that's a big part of it, right?
Exactly. You filled that gap, right? We needed the help, we needed the assistance. You provided that, and now we were able to build upon that. So it depends on where you want to focus, right? You can't be experts in everything. That's something that you need to have outside resources to help. But it certainly didn't start where we're at right now, right? And I mentioned the 40, 45 plus employees that we have in the IT space over here. It's when it started off as 10, it was everyone's doing everything and no one's an expert in anything. So it was, I was a business guru. I was working with integrations. I was working with the business analyst. And really how we grew was we knew we needed to start somewhere, right? We built out a team to help gain experts in each areas of focus in parts of the business, logistics, transportation, warehouse. And once we built those people out and we had those SMEs, then we could help build a nice infrastructure around that, right? The other aspects of IT came later, where we had our infrastructure team. Now we have DBAs, we have software devs. They all came later after we had the experts that understood what the business needed and how do we bridge that gap, right? Software devs are only as good as what you're able to tell them to build, right? And if
Yes, you got to manage them.
you got to manage them, you got to have the people that know exactly what to build and how to build it, right? Where are the inefficiencies currently in operation? Where the gaps are, and they're able to provide that, right? They're able to give the devs and the infrastructure and all those other people the insights, like, hey, we need to do this, right? This is the problem that we're experiencing. And by having that team of SMEs that our business analyst team that we built out, we were able to obviously build these integrations out. We were able to build, all sorts of applications that we have. On our side, and also implement technology, right? We have, so just abundance of different technology that we have around that help us in our day to day, that are all third party licensed software that we've partnered with, and we've introduced and have helped us in many different fashions. But we couldn't have done that without those core people that really know the business and help drive IT into that space. But again, going back to what you guys provide, we couldn't have got there. We did partner. We do have partners today, and we did partner with certain people to help us along the way and fill those knowledge gaps. to get there, right? And we still do. We continue to partner with people, and we will as we go on, right? We're not experts in any of these in the upcoming software space, so we're going to have to rely on AMRs, for example, right? We're going to have to rely on vendors to help us drive us in the right direction. It's a technology that seems interesting, seems like it's cost benefit. There's a lot there, but we are not experts that yet in that industry. We want to be, right? We want to get there. We want to understand it. So we're going to have to rely on people that are currently using it, are currently experts, and go from there.
Yeah, essentially, it's trying to not reinvent the wheel, right? Someone's already doing it at a very high level. Like, why would you task your dev team to do that, right? So utilize what they have. And then there are times, again, where you bring it back in house. But, kind of as an example, again, while I was at RJW, you had, say, some servers hosted, made more sense from an integration perspective to bring that back in house. But
Mhm.
like, you can't do that if you don't have the infrastructure team, if you don't have the subject matter experts, like you said, the business analysts. And then there's some aspects of the dev, right, of being able to make all those connections. So, you guys have really built out that team to kind of, foster that, technology growth. Without that team, you wouldn't be able to do it.
Yep, and it's a commitment, right? I mean, it was a decision. It was a strategic decision by RGW that hey, we're going to invest in this because we want to be the best in class, right? Everyone wants to be the best in class, right? Everyone wants to get there, and that was part of the investment. RGW understood that's where we need to get to in order to get where we want, right? And we understand, obviously talking here, like we understand that small businesses and everyone coming up is, you know, they want to get there. Maybe they don't. Maybe some people like where they're at in their space, right? They're in the niche space wherever, or they like just being a small company. That's fine, and that's where you can rely on people who do have expertise, like you guys, or other vendors, right? That could bring in that technology and help you bridge those gaps. People like you and you've seen where technology can help. It's able to see the processes, the current gaps, and that there's stuff out there. A lot of people don't know that there's things out there that you can do in order to create those efficiencies, which seems like sometimes it seems like there's not a technology need here. Like you can't fulfill that. And people like you and your company can see that and they can see, all right, yeah, this we can do something here. And that's important, right? And that's the benefit of having someone like you guys.
Well, appreciate that recommendation. But yeah, I mean, really want to thank you again for coming on. Want to thank RJW for allowing you to come on, and I really enjoyed my time there, and obviously couldn't recommend you guys enough. Right, like again, being in the technology space, it's so refreshing seeing a company that really truly understands it and invests in it. So, to kind of just close out here, what are some ways that people can find RJW? I know obviously it's rjwgroup.com. What socials you guys are on? Probably
Everything.
Facebook.
Facebook, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's huge. I mean, I don't even know if we're on Twitter or anything.
TikTok.
Yeah.
You'll have to talk to the marketing department, get to make sure that you guys are on everything. But yeah, again, truly appreciate you coming on here, and hoping that whether you're a logistics company watching this, manufacturing, or just anyone that truly understands the benefits of technology. It's nice again to have you come on and really kind of explain that, right? Because sometimes people just truly don't value it, but it's something that I think a lot of people now understand that technology is the future of everything, right? If you want your business to be very efficient, if you want to scale and you do have good processes, that you can then put technology behind that to achieve it. So thank you again for coming on, and we will see you guys in the next one.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.